to welcome everyone to the Unification at FHS panel. All 4 people on this panel today are a big part of our local Black history, and I'm glad that I'm even this close to them. It just feels really exciting to be, like, I feel like I'm a part of Black history.
You are?
I am. I want to give a personal thank you for them coming out today. You know, it's really an honor for at FHS to have a piece of Black history here. And these people, you can see them in the supermarket, and they're just really close to us. The first person that I want to introduce to everyone is Miss Jimmye Whitfield. And Miss Jimmye Whitfield graduated from FHS in 1961. And next up is Miss... Oh, okay. And then second up, we have Miss Ocie Fisher. She graduated from FHS in 1972. She was the first Black student at Ramey.
Right.
Hey, our third panelist is Miss Betty Smith, and she was the first Black teacher at FHS. And then lastly, we have Dr. John L. Colbert, and he was the first Black principal in Fayetteville Public School District, and he is the first Black superintendent. So to start us off, I think that Miss Whitfield would like to give us a little background and tell us her story.
I see. Oh, it's so good to see all of you. I was just saying, if I was here at this school, I would be here in this room. So good to see you all. I'll just tell you a little bit about Lincoln School, and where I grew up was behind the courthouse. Can you hear me? So it seems that all of the Blacks, and most all the Blacks in Fayetteville, were located behind the courthouse, and there was a little school on the hill, and it had 1 through 9 grades of students there. So in one room there was 1 through 4, and then the next room 1 through 5. I mean 4 through 9. And at that time I went all the way to the 7th grade, and by then we began integrating the schools. At that time, my mother was a very big activist in seeing that happened, because she thought that we should have a better education. Myself personally, I enjoyed our Black school. I enjoyed being among our people and being told how smart I was and and how I was going to do great things. But of course, all that changed. Of course, when we come over to the high school, nobody ever told me anything. In my class at Lincoln School, we were about 8 Black kids coming over, and by the time I graduated in 65, there were 3 of us left. So it was different coming here. We just came over. I mean, there was really no violence or antagonism or what we considered racism. We were just here. And it was more like being invisible or just being there. I was talking to one of my friends the other day, and she was saying, I have a friend here. Her name is such and such a thing, and I said, oh, I know her. I said, I went to school with her. And she said, you did? Come on, let me go and introduce, so y'all can meet. And I said, no, we can't meet. We didn't talk to each other. What's there to meet? And my friend was very surprised, but that was the way the climate, the relationships were. I mean, we were here. It's just like you're sitting on a plane. You don't have to engage with anybody when you're flying. You just sit there, you're just touching, but there's nothing to be talking about. So pretty much that was the way it was with my class. And I know that as we move along, different experiences, because I think we were more or less in awe of each other. The boys did pretty good with each other because they were part of the basketball and football teams and like that. But we girls, we just kind of looked at each other and Hi. And just made our way. But thank goodness there was, we didn't have any fights. We didn't have any name calling. We didn't have any things that we saw that was going on at Central High School in Little Rock at that time. So we would rush home and see the news to see what are they doing and why are they doing that? Because here it was just really smooth and just getting to know each other. So looking at you all right now, I can say that we did pretty good. We did pretty good, and we weren't scarred so much. You know, it's just being scarred of not being noticed, I guess, like that. But we're strong, we're tough, and we can make it work. So it's good to see all of you come out here today and see that you're moving on. It's so wonderful seeing so many diverse students in this room. It's amazing. Yeah.
All right.
You want
It's my turn now? Okay. Hi, my name is Ocie Fisher. I was born here in Fayetteville. I went to the Lincoln High School also. That picture you have up there. That's what it looked like. Yep, and when they integrated the schools, I was going into 6th grade. And at that time, like, I was really, really, really quiet. But I was mean. I guess because, white or black, they all picked on me because I was short. So I was the fighter, you know. I want to fight everybody. What? Who? When? So I did have a little racism problems and stuff. When I first I went to Peabody Hall at the university, and I was the first and the last black to go and graduate from there. And I didn't really like it when I went there, but it was a calming moment for me, because like I said, I was always fighting. And so when I got there, nobody wanted to sit by me. And they said, "Oh, you smell funny. I don't like that." And I know my mama had me shining like a brand new penny. Oh, yeah. So, you know, but like when they started paying attention to me, it was the guys. And I always got along with the boys because, you know, I was kind of strong, you know. So I was the arm wrestling champion. I was. You're laughing. But I was the arm wrestling champion. And so all the guys used to hang around me. So, you know, we would always be doing stuff in sports. You know, I was pretty good in soccer and stuff because we didn't have no basketball court. And I couldn't do that anyway because they would all stand over me. They would let me shoot. But anyway, moving on up to the high school, I had trouble again. I met up with everybody that was friends of mine. We all met up at Fayetteville High School because I believe I was supposed to be going to Hillcrest High, but somebody burned the school down. I tried to look it up to see if they had anything about it, and they just said a 17-year-old boy set fire to it. And so then we ended up here at Fayetteville High. So I was in the course, and I was a pretty good drawer. I liked art, but I was still. Well, let me go back to that 6th grade thing. They used to separate me from the other students when I got there. And I told my mom, I said, "I don't want to go to that school. They won't talk to me, and then I don't get to be in the classes with the other kids." And when I told her that, she was over there like a flash. You ain't doing my daughter like that, no ma'am. And so I just wanted to touch back on that. I'm through talking. For now. Okay.
I would like to say hello to everyone. My name is Betty Newton Smith. My husband is Leordis Smith. And somehow I ended up being the first black teacher at Fayetteville High School, which was not a hard task for me, because from the very beginning, all I wanted to be was a teacher. And it didn't matter where it was. It was okay with me. So I was okay when I was hired, even though in that first meeting when I met with some of the administrators, they had me psychoanalyzed. I know y'all don't know what that means, do you? I was taken in a little room with some of the other teachers, and then psychologist from the University of Arkansas, I won't even call his name, and they asked me a lot of questions. I guess they were trying to see if I was insane or sane or whatever the case may be. And one question that I really remember that stand out in my mind that I probably will never forget, they asked me, if your son would marry a white girl, would that be okay with you? I said, yes, if they are in love. And to my amazement, my son is married to a white girl. When I first started out, I was teaching world history and then eventually teaching American history, which was also great. It didn't matter to me. And while here, some of the students, well, the vice principal asked me, said he had some concerns from some of the black students and asked them, they wanted, someone to watch over them and to make them feel like a part of the school. And I started teaching in 1971, and I taught for 28 years at Fayetteville High School. I retired in 1999, before some of you were born, or maybe all of you were born, I don't know. But, and while they're here at the school, I was asked by the vice principal if I would sponsor a club. And so we named the club PBS, Promotion of Black Students Club. And I understand the name has been changed now. But when the club was first opened, it was open to anybody that wanted to join. We didn't keep people from, and so it was opened by black and white students. This library here is named after one of my people that were in PBS, Matthew Moore. He was a good guy. Loved him. He loved us, and we were all in PBS together, and we had a great time. Our purpose for PBS was to promote the black students and to make them feel a part of the school system and to do educational, recreational, and community type activities. And eventually we started a scholarship to help students that wanted to go on to college. And I don't know if you all are continuing that or not, but I think that's a good thing to do. But the club was open to anybody that wanted to be in the club. And we did all kind of fundraising things. We didn't have much help with our fundraising activities. And sometimes we had to just recruit people to serve as a coach when we had the basketball tournaments. Lance was one of them. But the one that stood out in my mind as one of the people that really helped was Thompson.
Romney Thompson.
No.
Oh, Mr.
What's his name? Redale Thompson always helped us. He was always there. And he is still in the system, I believe, as a referee, isn't he?
Yeah, for the area.
Yeah, for the area. And I didn't have any problem out of any of the teachers. I didn't have any problem out of too many of the students, because I would say, if you don't act right, I'm going to throw you out the window. And I knew I couldn't do that. I knew I couldn't do that. But it kind of put a little bluff in some of the students where they would cool down a little bit. Anyway, I think I probably have talked enough, and turn it over to Brother.
I must say that we need to give it up for the Trailblazers because they made it easy for me to come and be a teacher in Fayetteville. So I want to say thank you all very much. I am Dr. Colbert, your superintendent. 43 years ago, actually 46 years ago, I came to Fayetteville as a student at the University of Arkansas. I went there and majored in education and graduated in 3 years in 1976. And then I had 2 offers that year. One to go to Dallas to teach, or stay here in Fayetteville and teach at Bates Elementary. That's a little spot right down there where Bates used to be. And so I evaluated the situation. Coming from Rondo, and she's from Monroe, a small town. So I said, should I stay in Fayetteville, similar to Rondo, or should I go to Dallas? So I said, well, you know, I'm a little country boy. I don't know if I would fit into the city life of Dallas. So I said, hey, I'm going to go ahead and accept the job at Bates Elementary 43 years ago. I started that journey as a special ed teacher for 4 years, then taught 6th grade for 4 years. And you all, during that time now, you know, the principals used to have what you call lead teachers. And so my principal really saw something in me, so he turned me as the lead teacher. But I did that quite a bit, and I said, well, you know, it was almost like an assistant principal, but no pay. And so I kept doing that. I said, Janelle, you know, this is pretty neat. So you need to go back and get your certification so you could become a principal. So I did that. My first principalship was actually in Fort Smith, and I was young, committed, dedicated to education. I drove Highway 71. You young people, you don't know about Highway 71. For 3 years as a principal in Fort Smith, I commuted those 3 years. And you realize that I didn't miss a day of school? Wow. 3 years. I can remember the last year, my wife started riding with me the last 2 years because she taught in Fort Smith. And so she woke up that morning and it started snowing. She says, honey, I'm not going. I said, oh, we can make it. And she stayed home. She said, you can make it, but I'm not going. So I decided to go ahead and go. And so lo and behold, I did get to Artist Point. Anyone on Artist Point on 71? Curve. Once I got there, I went in the ditch, y'all. So, but I had one chain in my truck, so I did. No one stopped. No one even stopped and said, may I help you or anything? So I got out and put that one chain on that tire, and then I got out and I got to Mountainburg. And guess who I saw at Mountainburg at the mountain? All of those cars who passed me who didn't help me. So I couldn't stop, so I went out. So I did that for 3 years. And then, lo and behold, I got a call from the superintendent, Dr. Vandergriff, and says, hey, we have an opening at Jefferson Elementary. I accepted that position, came back home because I was considered Fayetteville as my home at that time. And I did that school for 8 years. And then, y'all, here this African-American in Fayetteville, Arkansas, had the opportunity to open a brand new school, Holcomb Elementary. You know, that's a dream for all principals. And so I had the opportunity to do that in 1995. And so I spent, 20-some years there. And then after that piece, you know, Holcomb is almost just like my school. When I go back and say, oh, Dr. Colbert, yay. Yeah, so, hey, you know the name of the restaurant? No, at Holcomb, it's called, what is it called, Miss Julie? Yeah, John L. Colbert Restaurant. Yeah, right. That's an honor. You know, they named that in my honor, and I just felt so blessed that I had the opportunity to serve that many years as the principal at Holcomb Elementary. And then I got a call from the superintendent coming from Kansas City. We had a church trip there, and Dr. New said, hey, I would like for you to come and be the associate superintendent. And I said, you want me to do what? He says, yes, I want you to do that. So I came in and interviewed and all, and it was myself and another principal, and he chose me, to become the associate superintendent for elementary ed. And then after that, the next superintendent came in and did some reorganization of the superintendents, and he needed someone to be, get this, he needed someone to be over maintenance, cafeteria, transportation, and custodian. And guess who he chose to do that? Me. And guess what kind of skills did I have about any of those? I didn't have any. So you all, the thing is that I had to learn quickly how to supervise those departments, but that was the best thing that happened to me. Because as I did those things, notice what I did. A teacher, a principal, associate superintendent for elementary ed, associate superintendent for transport support services, what we call it. And then I became what? The superintendent, first African-American superintendent of Fayetteville Public School System. Commitment and dedication. And you all, I'm glad he did put me over support services. So therefore, I have the knowledge about every department in the district. It prepared me for that. Teacher, principal, associate superintendent for elementary ed, support services, and then the superintendent. There was nothing I didn't know about this great school district. So I feel an honor as an African-American superintendent to be here to go through the ranks. And I must say, my journey was a little easier than their journey. That's the reason I'm saying they are actually the trailblazers who opened the door for me. So therefore, I have to come in and say, hey, I must do a good job so that they can be proud of me, because they were the ones who allowed me to get where I am today. And so I just feel honored to be here, and I want, again, thank you all for opening the doors for me to come to be sitting here as the superintendent of this great school district. Thank you.
Okay, so now we're going to start with some questions. Does anyone have anything they want to ask any of the panelists?
There's a hand back there.
Okay.
Awesome. Well, I just wanted to ask, because you were talking about how when you started joining the school, there were a few dropouts. So I was just wondering what motivated you to keep going despite those who decided not to keep going.
Oh,
You. Turn to you.
Oh, good question. Our community was so small, and it seemed like everybody in that community, black community there, was relatives. So I had to leave Fayetteville. That's the bottom line. And I knew, my mom said, I have to have a great education. And so that was my motivation to keep going. And in that, I ended up doing a lot of things. I've traveled all over the world. I've taught in Africa for about 25 or 30 years, so it's just been amazing. I did leave Fayetteville and had an awesome time, and probably I may not have done what I did without having this experience right here, that I knew that I had to leave Fayetteville and also go to a HBCU school because I needed to see myself. And I ended up going to Lincoln University in Jefferson City, Missouri. I really didn't have any background or information or guidance. There wasn't really a good guidance counselor here at the school. When he would see us black kids, he would tell us, go join the Army, go join the Navy or something like that. So we just had to navigate and guess around. We didn't have anybody to really steer us in a direction, and I just knew one girl said, I'm going to Lincoln. And I'm like, where is that? Let me go too. I probably wouldn't have chosen it if I had had more information, but I did, and I have long-lasting friends from that experience.
Wow.
Awesome. Well, thank you.
All right.
So, like, speaking about university, what was the desegregation like at the University of Arkansas? Like, could the Fayetteville High students go to the university here and then like live on campus and then go to the dining hall, or was it different?
Well, I'll just speak because growing up in that era, the schools were, dormitories, everything was segregated at the University of Arkansas, literally everything. And the people that attended, the blacks that would come from most places in Arkansas, they had to stay in the community with us. So my principal at the high school stayed in a little 8 by 10 room next door to me. So everybody lived in that community. And I like to tell the story of the brother of Alex Haley. He stayed in the upstairs attic of my friend, and he was, and went on to be a senator. But Silas Hunt, who you see there, he stayed in the community. Yep. The Brantons stayed in community. All of the people, they stayed down there, which was a good thing. We didn't know it was, we didn't look at it as a negative because the people that were there, they took up time with us, or we could see them, and we knew they were going to school with their, and they walked. Most of them didn't have cars, and they would just keep going. They looked like they were determined, you know what I mean? They looked like they were going with the purpose. You could see them every day, wind, rain, sleet, or snow. Nothing could keep them from walking. You could see them all up in Dixon Street going. And I think that was a really positive for us who lived there, that, they're going to school. That's what our folks used to say. They go to school. They're the ones that go to the university. Eventually that changed, and my husband and brothers helped to desegregate the housing over at University of Arkansas. And then slowly everything began to break down, and my mother was really involved in a lot of things that changed around here, and the facilities, and desegregating all of these hotels, restaurants, and those facilities. So, yeah, I don't know.
Jimmye,
Let me continue right here, and then all of us, I think, probably have something to say. But I came to the University of Arkansas in 1968, and they were still segregated in 68. My husband and I were told, given a place to live, which was still in the black community, which didn't matter to me because I got to meet a lot of wonderful people. Wonderful people. But when I went to class, most of my classes, I was the only black student at the University of Arkansas in my classes. And that wasn't any problem for me either. I just accept people as they are. I didn't have any problem at the University of Arkansas.
I'm the young one, so I did stay in a dorm, and that was 73.
I just wanted to say also, too, my mom, when she got out of Lincoln School, because they could go no further, they couldn't go to school at this time. They had to leave Fayetteville to go to their relatives, where they had relatives to go to school at. Yeah. So I just wanted to throw that in too. Yeah.
And some of them went to Fort Smith,
Hot Springs.
Yeah, and some went to Kansas City. Wherever you had relatives, they went out of state.
That's where you went.
There, all over the U.S. to go to school. Here's a question.
Well, you said that in school you guys didn't really deal with a lot of racial violence. Was there any point in your later years or even earlier years where you did deal with any?
I always dealt with racial problems. I told you, I didn't talk, but I didn't mess with nobody, So yes, we had some racial problems, but I only went to the office one time. And I never got in trouble, but yes, I had lots of names called at me. Mm-hmm.
And then at the University of Arkansas, I remember when they had the Texas Hell Week, blacks were not allowed to be outside by themselves because they would pick on you, call you names and everything during that Hell Week. So we had to be very careful that if we did go out during the Hell Week. I'm sorry. Well, it's when the university would celebrate the big game that's going to come up that they're getting ready to play Texas. And so the white students, they just did their things and all, and whoever they saw who did not look like them, they would do different things to them. So we had to make sure that we would never travel alone on campus by ourselves. We always were with groups, yeah.
And also, when they were playing Dixie at the university, wish I was in Dixie, and they had a march over there to make them stop playing Dixie, and we got that done. I was off in the corner, They did get rid of the Dixie song,
Now to mention about the Razorback games, they had homecoming every year, and big parade. It was kind of the biggest thing going on in the fall, and so most of the schools around here, the elementary schools, they were making floats, as well as the fraternities and the Greek organizations around here. So we at Lincoln School up on the hill there, we made our floats too, and our folks were so excited to have ours just look the best. And every year, ours always looked nice with the minimum things that we had in hand. But we were always relegated to the back of the parade. We were always the ones at the last of the parade. That's just what I remember. And as far as going to the game, the Razorback game, when any of us went to the game, we had to stand up under the, kind of like the gold pole, I guess, or something like that. I never did go myself. I went once just to see, because my mom said she would never, ever go. And so I went, and I just remember us sitting on the sideline. They didn't give us chairs or anything to sit. And I don't think I've been back to a Razorback game ever. Not that I don't love, it's just not there to even go and see Razorback games.
Didn't know about that.
As far as like political climates, you guys know what's happening in today's society and everything going on. How do you feel like the Black community right now is handling everything well? Or do you think that there's more that we can do as far as what's going on in today's society?
Here at this school, or just
anywhere?
Just all over. Yeah. I think we're evolving into a beautiful place. I really do. And just by looking at where I come from in 1961, this was C. White, okay, and me, and my friend. And now I see something just especially beautiful and hopeful. And what we're looking at is a raising of consciousness, that there's no them, they, and thus. We're moving in an era where it's we, ours. That's where we are. And this my and me, they're going by the wayside. And so you all give me such hope. And just to see you here, you're beautiful. So keep doing what you're doing. And like I said, if I was here back in the day and you had this class here, I would be in it. And so here you are. Yeah.
But there are still a lot of changes that need to be made.
Yes.
Adding to Anaya's question, how do you think PBS has raised awareness for the Black community in Fayetteville?
I didn't get to do the
PBS.
PBS. It came after me. So,
Ms.
Ms.
Smith.
Smith.
Well, the time when we were operating, we were really just about all Black people that were supporting PBS. Let's face it. That's just the way it was. When we had our different activities, we had a lot of activities. We had talent shows, we had fashion shows where we would go to the stores and they would let us borrow their $100 clothes. We even had the brides' outfits and the tuxedos. And in all the time that we were raising money for those activities, we only lost one dress. We don't know what happened to that dress. Only one. And it, excuse me, and it just cost about $20 at that time. Can't hardly buy a dress for $20 now. But we were mainly African Americans. We had a few students, white students, in our activities. When we would have whatever kind of activities to raise money, whether it was a dance or a talent show or a fashion show or a basketball tournament, we had a variety of things. We had speakers. Sometimes they would we would go to the gym and where all the students would come in and listen to a African American speaker. So we did a lot of activities, and that's how some people found out about what we were doing. But most of the time, who was in there working? It was African Americans working. I don't know what's going on now, since I've been gone for almost 20 years, so I can't speak for that. But
Sister Smith.
I hope I answered your question.
And with the community, she would reach out to the university, because I remember her always asking the
Yeah.
sororities and fraternities to come over and help. And so that got the university involved with the PBS.
So we did have some involvement like that, but mainly, like I say, it was mainly African Americans. And even we were open for anybody that wanted to come in and join in with us, no matter where, if they were teachers at the high school or whomever. We didn't have a lot of white teachers that would come in and to support us. We had a few, and we had a vice principal that would come and support us for many years. But it was just on us. It was something that we did, and we wanted to do it. And one time we even were on TV in Joplin at a dance contest or something. So we branched out. We did a lot of things. We went to Little Rock, and involved in educational trips and things like that. So we didn't just stay in the building all the time. We even went to the VA hospital one time and put on a skit, if you can imagine that. So it was fun. We liked to do it, and it wasn't any problem. And one thing I need to mention, I was a sponsor for about 20 years, and I did not get paid like the other sponsors did. And some of the white teachers wanted me to sue the building, but it didn't matter to me, because I was working for the students. It didn't matter whether I got paid. And I didn't finally think about the last 2 years, I got paid. We got a principal that came in from Louisiana, and he made sure that I got paid, like all the other sponsors.
Ms. Whitfield, it sounds like high school was a very lonely time for you. It didn't, you were saying you didn't have a lot of trouble, there wasn't a lot of violence like there was in Little Rock, but it sounds like a really lonely time. Did you feel like your home life and your school life was very, very separate?
You were separate, okay, but very separate, but I had my friends, We had our group that come from there that walked over here, however we came to be, and that's what we stayed with. And I know probably nowadays the blacks sit here and the whites sit there, that's how that came about. In the day, we had to talk with the people that we could talk with and be with them. So I don't think it was lonely. There was just some things that, we don't want to go. But we would say, do you want to go to this so-and-so? And if we agreed as a group of 6 or 7, then it was fun. Yeah. No. Lonely? No. I'm on my way out? No.
I really want to take a second to thank all of you for being here in Fayetteville when you were, but even more so for coming back, for being here in Fayetteville today, because I know that our students are getting a lot out of this, and so are our teachers, and we really, really appreciate you coming and sharing your story. Thank you for coming back.
Thank you for asking us.
Yeah, thank you all.
Nobody really asked us anything before, You almost wait till almost everybody died out.
Hi,
Hello.
I'm Natalie Conway. I'm a teacher here now, and I really appreciate hearing your stories. One question I have is about how Fayetteville, I think that this town really prides itself on being inclusive and like being a leader statewide and desegregating the schools, for instance. And I know that there are other towns nearby that had been sundown towns in the past, and I'm curious, like, to what extent does that, what did you really feel like Fayetteville was different from those other places?
Did she say the sundown You be out of town by sundown?
Yeah, spring
Oh,
down.
I was always scared. My daddy had us up there. It was the biggest apples I ever seen that we like to go get. And it was getting dark, and I was saying, Daddy, come on, we gotta go. He said, I wish they would. So I'll just tell yeah, we had that be out of town by sundown, starting from Springdale, yeah, in this area. So this is where we were located, and we had our own little neighborhood area, so we didn't get bothered that much.
You want to say something?
Laura, you want to use your loud voice?
Oh, yeah. Oh. I have a question for Ms. Fisher. If you could go back to when you were like in junior high or high school, is there anything that you wish you could have done, like if it was like it is now?
Yes, I do wish that I had more friends, and everybody ended up being my friend though. Even if we had fights and things, we all ended up being friends. And I see them around town today, and they all remember me and speak to me. Matter of fact, I met the librarian from Ramey. His name was Dr. Duval, Duell. Something like that. I just seen him yesterday because we were at the Shiloh Museum where I performed over there. Anyway, I'm a local singer around town, so a lot of people know me, and I see a lot of the people that I went to school with around this area too, and they're all nice to me now. Everybody's great. And I do wish I had more friends back then.
Okay, so it's time to wrap it
She
up.
got a question right here. Then wrap it up, because I know you got to go.
No, they have to go.
Oh, they have to go.
Hi. I loved hearing all your stories. One question I have, do you think the United States in this time is doing enough to promote diversity in schools and public education, things like that?
No, we still have some work to do. We are making progress, and we need to realize that we still need to look at that to improve and even do better. Because as we look at, let's take for instance some of the schools, we have different minorities in the schools, but we do not have the teachers to represent them as well. So hopefully that's a personal goal for me for Fayetteville, that we are going to increase the number of minority teachers so that it will reflect what the population look like at those different schools. So we still have work to do.
Yes, I agree. I know they got to go.
Okay, so that's basically the
Sorry about
end.
the time.
It's okay. I want to thank everyone for coming out again. It was really a good experience.
Thank you all very much.
Thank you for asking us.
Thank you all for having us.